Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session. In today's session, we will look into the JavaScript events. Okay. JavaScript event. What is the event? Is like any action. Okay. Any action you can call it as an event on the form. When the form is loading, that is an event. When the form is getting submitted, that is an event. You have a button on the screen. When you are clicking on that button, that is an event. When you are hovering your mouse on top of any element, that is an event. Or double click, right click. So all those forms as a events. And why events are essential for the programming? Because based on certain action, we want to carry out certain functionality. For example, you have a button and you are taking, let us say, you are taking some kind of a data and you are going to run a algorithm on top of that. So once you get all the data and click on the button, then from that button on click event, you can initiate the script that will do the calculation, that will run the algorithm. So that is how any action you want to carry out, you can base it on the event. JavaScript event is an action that can be detected by the JavaScript. We say then that an event is triggered and then it can be caught by the JavaScript function, which then do something in response. So what is that? Some event is triggered. Means what? User is clicking on the button. So that is the trigger. When user clicks on a button, that is a trigger, and when that trigger happens, so on click event triggers, and that on click event is caught by the JavaScript. Particular event, then with respect to that event, we can define some action or the some kind of a array. Suppose let us say on button, if user clicks, there is only one click. Okay, that is on click means one click. Then you want to certain things. Let us say double click on that button, you can carry out some other action. Okay, so because those events are different, the events are according to the events, you can have the different actions. In the original JavaScript word, events could be specified right in the HTML markup with hooks to the JavaScript code. How the original scripts were, like even the style is used even in today. The HTML element markup will have the hook for calling the JavaScript. So you can specify the event, and then we will have the what action to be taken. Already we saw a sample code in the last class where we use the on click event of the button on click, and we were doing some kind of a action. More powerful frameworks were developed and website design and best practices were defined. This original mechanism was supplanted by the list approach. So here what happens is HTML markup and the JavaScript code, they are together. Every element has that one. So you will have the in the markup you will have on click, on double click, or on hover, whatever the events are there, you're going to specify in the HTML markup. So the other approach is like having a listener. In the listener, it will listen to all the events for all the elements. So you can include the listener, and it will be listening for those events. Whenever that event happens, it will catch it. So suppose we have a listener running, and when user clicks on the button, on click, that event will be listened by the listener, and whatever the action is associated with that particular event, that action will be taken. So these are the two approaches. This is the old inline technique. This is the JavaScript we have. So the JavaScript here is used it as a separate file. So we have a external file called inline.js, and all the JavaScript code is inside this. So we include that particular file with our HTML document, and this is the form element. Name is equal to main form. You can see this is a on submit. On submit is one of the event. So what should happen on submit? It will call the validate function, and it will pass this object. Okay, this means whatever the current object is there, that will get passed to this function. So this function validate, it is available in the JavaScript. Similarly, you can see for every HTML element we have one or the other event. This is input, name is equal to name, so it's a text box, type is equal to text. On hover, we have a method called hover, and we are passing this object. This means the current object which has uh, uh, triggered that particular event. And also this is one event and another event on focus. So whenever this particular element comes on focus, this function will be called, which is inside the JavaScript. And whenever we take the mouse and hover over this element, this method will be called hover. Similarly, we have name is equal to email, type, text, on hover. Again, we are calling hover method here, and on focus, we are calling the focus method. So you might be wondering, we might have the same method here. It is up to the implementation by the developer how he wants to write the code. What is the difference between this? The object that is sent are different. In this case, the object sent is this one, that is name, and the second case, the object sent is an email. According to the object type, maybe on hover, we are just displaying the name of that particular control, or whatever the generic code that might be present. As per according to the object, there will be a changes in what it performs. Similarly, the on focus, similarly this focus method. And one more input we have, it is a submit button. On click, what we are doing, validate this. So we are doing some kind of a validation. So all these functions are written inside this particular JavaScript. Now in this approach, we talked about when we were talking about the different design approaches, we talked about the layered approach, right? So we want to have a different layers. So we will have a presentation layer, that is the UI part, and there we can have a CSS, then we can have the JavaScript separate. So this is the layer design, and the server scripts, all those things, and database related scripts. So we will have a layers like this. Similar to that, we can have another layer of a listener. So this is a listener technique. So in this case, we have written the listener. All the listener implementations are done here, and whatever the listeners are available, those events will be whenever user performs those events, it would be listened by this one, and particular action is taken care. So here we need not have the event included in the markup. So we are separating the HTML markup from the JavaScript. So those two things are totally separated out. Inline event handler approach. For example, if you wanted to alert a pop-up when clicking a div, you might program. Suppose this example, whenever somebody is clicking inside the div, so you want to pop up a message saying that whatever the text you want to put here, the text here put is hello. So we have a div, ID is example 1. So we will have on click. What should we do when user clicks inside that div? Call the alert method. So you already know what alert does. It creates a pop-up window with hello as the content, and this is uh, uh, the opening tag of div, and this is the closing tag of the div, and this is the content of the div, that is click for pop-up. Whenever you click here, basically when you are clicking on this content is inside the div. When you click on this content, this particular pop-up message will alert and it will say hello. The problem with this type of programming is that HTML markup and corresponding JavaScript logic are woven together. So if you want to have a layered approach, this is not the right kind of coding that we should be using, because it is interwoven. It does not make use of layers, that is, it does not separate content from the behavior. So this is the these are the two approaches. First one is old style, registering a listener. So what you will do here, you have a element, some HTML element is there, and you are getting the element object reference by this code. Variable greeting box is equal to document dot get element by ID. So you already know what is get element by ID. This object, this method will get the element object, and who is element object, who is having the ID as example1. Once you have that element object, you are assigning the onClick event. Greeting box dot onClick is equal to alert good morning. So whenever we click on this element which is having the ID as example1, this method will be called. Alert will pop-up message will pop-up window will show up, and inside that we will see a message as good morning. And this is the new approach, the new DOM2 approach for registering the listeners. Now first step is the same. You are going to get the element object. Once you have the element object, then you will say add event listener. In here, add event listener, using this method, you will specify what is the event and what is the action. So greeting box dot add event listener, event is click, and what is the action to be taken, pop-up message with the good morning message. And we can add multiple events to particular element. In this case, we are adding one more event to greeting box element, dot add event listener, mouse out. So whenever mouse is moving out of that element, it will say, it will show up a pop-up window with the message goodbye. And for IE8, this is how the events are attached using greeting box dot attach event click. This is the event and this is the action. Okay, what if we wanted to do something more elaborate when an event is triggered? In such cases, the behavior would have to be encapsulated within a function as shown in the figure. So suppose if you want to do like have a larger action, then you have to include it in a function. Here in this example, you can say we have a JavaScript function called display the date, and inside we have a variable d and new date. You already know new date, it will create a date object which is having the current timestamp. Whenever this script gets executed, whatever the current timestamp it has, along with the date and all other information, that will be assigned to d. And alert, you clicked, alert method pop-up window will show up, and inside that window you have a message, you clicked this on, and concatenation, this is a string concatenated with the d is a date object. So you the way to convert it into a string object is to use the toString, d dot toString. This is concatenated with this string. So what you will see on the that pop-up window is you click this on particular date and time, whatever the way this date object is created, you will see all that information. Then variable element is equal to document dot get element by ID. So we will get this element object which is having a ID as example1. Then element dot on click, we are setting the on click element. element dot on click is equal to, you will say this display the date. Whenever there is a click on this particular element, it will call this function. Well, after the calling this function, current timestamp is created, and that will be shown as a pop-up window. So this is one way to do it, or the other approach is you can use the add event listener, element dot add event listener, click, and this is the event and this is the name of the function. An alternative to that shown in the previous code is to use anonymous function. So here, whatever the function we have created, it has a well-defined name, and you are calling it. The same thing can be implemented as a anonymous function. How to do it as an anonymous function? This is the code example. Variable element is equal to document dot get element by id example 1. This will get a object element object having a id as example 1, that will be stored in element. Then element dot on click, you are not providing any name of the function. Here you can see you are saying is equal to display the date, that is the name of the function. Instead of doing that, you can directly say function. Okay, these are called as an anonymous function. One thing you observe in this function is there is no name. Okay, this function yeah, it is anonymously, it is a defined. So when there is a on click, this particular implementation of the function will be called. So it will call this function, it will say implement inside the function, there is no change in the code, so it will create a date and it will display it as a window. Okay. Then event object. No matter which type of event we encounter, they are all DOM event objects. So everything is a DOM. Even the whatever the event object that is happening, whether it's a on click event or on submit event. Okay, everything is a event object. So and that inside that event object we have some of the properties, attributes, and some of the methods that we can use across all the DOM event objects. The event handlers associated with them can access and manipulate them. Typically we see the events passed to the function handlers as an parameter named e. So whatever the event that happens, that is a event object, and that event object is passed to the event handler. And what is a event handler? Event handler is the action what you want to take when that particular event happens. For example, on click is the event, and on click handler will provide the implementation what should be done when that particular element is clicked. So that is the job of the event handler. So event handler is nothing, it could be a simple function. So in the previous case, this is nothing but this is the handler for on click event. On click, you are this event will be handled. So using this event will be handled using this particular function. So function sum handler, and you are going to pass the event object, and inside the this function, whatever the implementation you want to have, that you can include. So bubbles, if an event's bubble property is set to true, then there must be an event handler in place to handle the event, or it will bubble up to its parent and trigger an event handler there. So there is a bubble property, and if you set that bubble property as true, then you must provide the event handler. Means that event should be handled inside that particular element. Let us say if that bubble property is set to false, then what will happen? That event will be passed to the parent, and parent will handle that particular event. So parent will have the event handler. If you remember the exception handling in Java or any other language, if you remember there, if a particular function is not handling any kind of a exception, that is exception, then it will, if it is not handling that exception, then it should tell that it is not going to handle. Then in the function definition, we will say this function throws this exception. When the function is thrown, then whichever functionality that is calling this function must handle that exception, right? Similar to that, here it's a event handler. If that particular event is not handled by the object, then the parent must handle that particular event. Then cancelable, one second. Okay, cancelable is another property. It is also a Boolean value. Cancelable is either true or false. It indicates whether or not the event can be cancelled. Um, okay, so this particular property, if you set it as true, that event can be cancelled. Whatever the event, maybe it is a on submit event, on click event, whether that event can be cancelled or not, it depends on this particular property. And by default, this property is set as true. Then we have one more property called as a prevent default. A cancelable default action for an event can be stopped using the prevent default method. Okay, so if you want to um, uh, avoid this default property of the cancelable, then we have to use the prevent default method. So that is what we will see in the next slide with the example. Prevent the default behavior. How to do that? We have this is the event handler, submit button clicked, and the event object is passed here. So whenever when user is clicking on the submit button, that this event handler is called by passing that particular on submit event object. And we are checking here if e dot cancelable, that means it is, if it is e dot cancelable is true, then what it will do is e dot prevent default. So it will make sure that it will prevent the default action. So there are different types of events. Then those based on this classification, we have many events that are included in this category. There are several classes of event with several types of event within each class specified by the W3C. So inside the mouse events, we have many events similar to keyboard related. There are many events. Form related, many are there. Related, many events are there. So we will see which are the most which are the detailed events. And for the mouse and for the keyboard, many of the events you already know, right? For mouse, you can have a on click, means using a mouse you can do the click on the particular element. Whenever you do the click, this on click event will get triggered. Mouse was clicked on an element. On double click, so mouse has one more event, a double click. A mouse was double clicked on an element. So here you have to remember, it need not be only on the button. Every element can have the on click and on double click events. Then on mouse down, the mouse was pressed down over an element. Mouse up, on mouse up, the mouse was released over an element. On mouse down, the mouse was moved, not clicked over an element. So you will just move over an element. You won't do the clicking action. That is when this will trigger on mouse hover. Whenever mouse goes on top of any element, this event will be triggered. On mouse out means the mouse you have moved on top of the element. When the mouse goes out of the that particular element, then this event is triggered. On mouse out, the mouse was moved off an element. Then on mouse move, the mouse was moved while over an element. So whenever we move the mouse on any element, this event will get triggered. Now the question is, which event we should check, or which events we should use. So these are all the available events associated with the mouse. It is up to the requirement and the developer what is the need. Suppose if, for example, I would say user has there is a one text field, and user brings the focus in, means users gets the cursor there, and he tries to move away from that particular text box. Then you can say maybe you can use on mouse out, and you can say that that's a mandatory information that needs to be entered. So it depends on how we want to use it. And on click and on double click, mostly it is used on the buttons. Next, keyboard events. On key down, the user presses a key. This happens first. So on keyboard, if you see your keyboard, what you will do is you will first press it down, right? When you press it down, that is when a particular character will get entered inside the your system. On key down means the user is pressing the key. That is the first option. Then on key press, then user has kept it pressed. The user presses the key. This happens after on key down. After this is the first action. The key is going down, then key is getting pressed, and key is getting released. So when the key user releases the key, that is on key up. So this is on key down, means user is pressing down the button. Any key, it is any key on your keyboard. This is on key press, means he has kept it pressed. And when user moves up his hand, means when he releases that particular button, we then on key up event will be triggered. So keyboard events, this is an example we have. We have an input, type is equal to text, id is equal to key example. The input box above, for example, could be listened to, and each key pressed echoed back to the user as an alert as shown in listing 6.15. So you can see the method here, document dot get element by id. So which element object is extracted? This is the one, okay, which is having the id as key example. So I will get the element object. This element object I have, on that I am using the on key down dot on key down, and I'm setting the function here. So this function will be called function, my function, and I'm passing the this event object. And what is the event object? Event object on key down, that is the event. On key down is the event object. This is passed here with key pressed dot key code. Where is the is the event object key code. Get the which is the code that is which is the key that is being pressed. Vector is equal to string from char code. So this is the function. We have a string method, string object. inside the string object we have from code, that is the method which will get the will convert this key code into a string. Once you the string which key is pressed, then you will show up a pop-up message, key concatenation this character. So character will be having which key you pressed. Let us say you pressed the A. Key A was pressed. That is what will be displayed on the pop-up. Then there are events on form. Like these are the different events we can have on blur. A form element has lost focus. That is, control has moved to a due to a click or a tab key press. So you are on, user is on certain element, let us say text box, and either using the mouse or the tab, he has moved out to the on blur event will get kicked. On change means whenever there is a change in the element. For example, we have input text area and the select. So whenever user is entering there, we have this event will get triggered. On change will get triggered. Input text area select field had their value change. This could mean the user typed something or selected a new choice. Then on focus, as soon as the focus comes onto the a particular element, either using a tab or a click, this event will get triggered on focus. Complementing on blur event that is triggered when an element gets a focus, the user clicks in the field or the tabs to it. So whenever you enter any element, you get on focus. Whenever you leave any element, you get on blur. And how you can leave any element? Either you can use the click using the mouse, or you can use the tab button. On reset, HTML forms have the ability to be reset. This event is triggered when that happens. On select, when the user selects some text, this is often used to try and prevent copy and paste. So if you know some many of the websites, they will not allow to paste the value inside the password. Suppose you have a banking, if you have a banking application and you have a web application where you have to enter the application using the user ID and password. For user ID, they will allow to copy and paste, but in case of a password, they will not allow you to paste it. You have to type it. One of the problem with allowing password to be pasted is like if you allow the password to be pasted, we can have there are a lot of scripts that can enter the value into these fields automatically. Means it will generate automatically, and it will enter the values and it will hit the submit button. What happens is, suppose hacker he wants to hack somebody's password. So there are combination, we know, like how many letters are there, how many special characters there, how many numbers are there. He can run millions of combination and he can break the password. So when automated script is allowed to copy, so that is why the copy is not allowed on many data inputs where it is a crucial information. Okay, maybe it is your Aadhaar card or your password, those kinds of information. Cut and paste or the copy and paste is not allowed. On submit, when the form is submitted, this event is triggered. So you remember we created the form and there was a submit button. When we click on the submit button, this on submit event will get triggered. We can do some pre-validation when the user submits the form in JavaScript before sending the data to the server. So we already know when user click on the submit button, whatever the data that he has entered in the form, that will be submitted to the server. Using this on submit button, what we can do is, before sending it to the server, if you want to do any kind of a validation on the data entered by the user, you can do the a data validation, and according to you can take the necessary action. If everything is correct, you can submit it to the server. If there is any issue, you can alert the user. So form event, this is a one example. Catching the on submit event and validating a password to not to be blank. So this particular application, what it will do is it will make sure that the password is having some kind of a value. If the password is empty, it will not allow it to submit. So how to do that? Document that dot get element by id login form. So this is the form that you have in your HTML, and you will get the element object dot on submit. On submit, what we should do, it will call this particular function pass the on submit event object, and inside variable pass is equal to document dot get element by id. Okay, and the text input you have the for the password, you have the id as pw. So you are getting that object, password object, and dot value. You are checking what is not checking, you are getting what is the value inside that password which user has entered. That value is assigned to this variable. Then so whatever user has entered, now that is available in this variable. Then you are going to check if pass equals empty, okay, whether it is a null. If it is true, then what you will do, alert enter a password, and e dot prevent default, what it will do, it will cancel the event. And what was the event? On submit, means it was doing the submission. So submission will be stopped, and it will, before that it will say enter the password, and it will cancel the event, so that user can enter the password and he can resubmit. When he resubmits, again on submit event will get triggered. This time what happens, now user has entered a valid some password he has entered. Again you are going to get that value. Now you will check pass is equal to empty. Now the condition is it is false, so this piece will not get accepted, and the particular form data will be submitted. Then we have the frames. Frames are the events related to the page. So basically, the browser frame where we have the our web page. The most important event is the onload event. So when your page gets loaded, that is when it will trigger. Or if the code attempts to set up a listener on this not yet loaded div, then error will be triggered. All right. So this we have a one example here. Window.onload. Onload, it is we are calling this anonymous function. Then whatever you want to onload of a page, you want to carry out certain actions, you can do that using this particular function. These are the different events that are in the free events class. On abort, so on abort, an object was stopped from loading. So whenever there is a problem in whenever an object is stopped from getting loaded, we get this particular event on abort. On error, an object or the image did not properly load, means due to some issue a particular object or image doesn't get loaded. That time we get on error. Maybe how you want to use this particular event on error, maybe you will try to reload, or you want to you can have some alternate actions. On load, when document or object has been loaded. On resize, the document view was resized. On scroll, when the document view was scrolled. This is with respect to your browser frame, and on unload the document has unloaded. So these are the different events for the frame. Before we go to the forms, I have one example. Let me remove this. This is the code, simple HTML document. So this is the HTML starting, ending. I have inside the body, I have one paragraph. This example uses the HTML DOM to assign an on key down. Okay, we already saw the keyboard event. Okay, one of the event is on key down, means we are pressing down. Event to input the element. Then another paragraph I have, press a key in to set a red background color. Okay, so it will change the color. Then I have a one input element, HTML element, and it is a text box. ID is demo. Now I have the script. The JavaScript, I am document dot get element by ID demo. So it is going to get this input element, and on I'm setting the on key down, that is dot on key down is equal to, I'm setting this function okay, and I a function separate declared separately. So I'm calling my function is also defined here, my function, and document dot get id demo dot style. Now you are setting the already this object, you got this object element object in the style. So dot style dot background, and background color, this property is to red. So I will open it in browser. Okay, so you can see this is the HTML. This is what I have. Whenever I click in now, my cursor is inside the text box. Now if I press any key, okay, in you may not be able to see that, so I will make a click. Now I'm pressing the button A. Okay, I'm pressing A, so you can see. So on key press, I have set on key press. Now what happens is I came inside this control and I pressed A. A is a key that I pressed. When I press down the key, the on key down event is triggered. This event is triggered. When this event on key down is triggered, it is going to call this function, my function. And what is my function? Inside function, I'm getting this input object, that document dot get element id demo id, and I am setting the style property dot style dot background color is equal to red. So that is why this element got changed to red. Now let me refresh. Maybe we'll get us yellow, so that make sure it works. Let me reload. I'm inside the text box. I press F. So you see that particular input control got changed. And if you want to change the content, so you can have, this is the changing of the style. Okay, now I'm changing the value. Okay, I will say sample value. Now I will reload. When I'm inside the text box, I will press the down key arrow. Okay, down key arrow. You can see automatically what happened. The style got changed, background got changed to yellow, and also the value was set as whatever is you setting here, sample value. So using those events, whatever action you want to take, you can take the particular action. You can change the content, you can change the structure, you can change the style. All those things are possible. Next is forms. Validating forms. What is the meaning of the validating forms is whatever the information that is entered by the user inside the form, you want to check whether it is correct or not. That is called as a validation. For example, there is a certain field which is like a age, which is actually you cannot enter anything other than the number there. So if user has entered any other value which is a non numeric, then we should validate that, and we should throw a we should provide a message saying that this field is a only numeric. It takes only the numeric value. Similarly, for the text, or if you want to control, for example, range. Okay, HTML5 control range. If for range you need not have any additional validation. It will be between 1 and 5, whatever the range you set. If you are giving the text box as the input, user can enter any value. That time you have to do the validation. Writing code to pre-validate forms on the client side will reduce the number of incorrect submissions, thereby reducing the server load. So, and all these validations, we are doing it on the client side. We are not submitting this data to the server, and the server side we are doing the validation, then we are sending the response. No, using the JavaScript, we are doing all the validations on the client side. So that is how we are not putting the additional load on the server. There are a number of common validation activities, including email validation, number validation, and data validation. So you already know we went with some of the HTML5 elements, which automatically take care of these kinds of validations. So validating an empty field, simple validation script to check for empty fields. We have document.get element by ID login form. So this is a login form we have, and this you are calling the on submit event. Whenever there is a submit of that particular form, this particular form, this event will get triggered on submit. Whenever this event gets triggered, you will do this action. You will call this anonymous function. You pass the on submit event. Inside here, variable field value is equal to document dot get field by ID username dot value. Whatever user has entered in the username field, you are getting that value, and that is stored in the field value. Now you are checking if field value is equal to null, or if field value is equal to empty. Okay, then it will come inside. You will prevent e dot prevent default, means you will cancel that particular event. That is, what is the event? On submit event. You will cancel it, and you will show a pop-up window with a message, you must enter the username. So here what has happened is, you did not submit the form to the server. On the client side itself, you did the validation, and you gave a message to the user saying that please enter the username. If you want to ensure a checkbox is ticked, use the code like below. So if you want to check whether the normally, like if there is a any agreement, okay, for the maybe they are registering and there is some kind of a agreement, and you want to check whether the checkbox is checked or not. So that time what you can do is, you can create a variable input field is equal to document dot get element by ID license. So this license is what? It's a checkbox. Whatever the object, that checkbox object it will be having the reference inside the input field. Then you are checking if input field type is equal to checkbox. First, you are making sure that this is a checkbox only. If that is true, then you are checking if input field dot checked. If the answer is true here, okay, it will take certain action, and if it is false, it will say that this particular checkbox should be checked. Number validation, for number validation, you can create a function called isNumeric, and you can pass that number. Then you will return a value. First is not is none. So is not a number. Okay. If this returns true, then that is not a number, so you are negating that. So if this particular number is not a number, means it is other than number. If it is true, then you will get it as a false, and you can checking is finite, so you use it a finite number. So this will return true only if user has entered a number. Otherwise, this function will return a false. Okay. And also we can do the validation using the regular expressions. So that is covered in the later sections. Submitting a form. Submitting a form using JavaScript requires having a node variable for the form element. Once the variable, say form example, is acquired, one can simply call the submit method. So for that, for submitting using the JavaScript, what you have to do is you have to get the form object first. Once you have the form object, then you can directly call the dot submit method. So how to get the form object? We know already. Variable form example is equal to document that dot get element by id, and you give the id of the form. Okay, so this is the login form. So now we have that object inside form example, and then you will say that object dot submit. The form will get submitted. This is often done in conjunction with the calling a prevent default on the on submit event. So before submitting, suppose if you want to do any validation, we saw it in the previous slides, then you will do the validation, and if it fails the validation, then you will call the prevent default. And what the prevent default will do, it will cancel the the on submit event. So you can the form will not be submitted to the server. You can put some alert message for the missing data, and user will enter that information, and he will submit. And if there are no errors, it will get submitted to the server.